A pensioner arrested after he fatally wounded an armed burglar who broke into his home has been backed by a huge outpouring of public support today. Richard Osborne Brooks, 78, is at the center of a case which has reignited the debate about the rights of homeowners to defend themselves from intruders. Neighbors, friends, and members of public supported him today, with celebrities including TV dragon Duncan Bannatyne calling for him not to be punished, and the hashtag number for Richard Osborne Brooks being widely used on Twitter. Meanwhile, a Gotham crowdfunding page has been set up to raise money the pensioner may need to cover future legal costs or to aid his recovery after the incident. Mr. Osborne Brooks has now been released from a police station near his home in Hither Green, southeast London pending an investigation by murder detectives. Police have ordered him to return on a date in early May. Detectives opened up drains in the street today in an apparent bid to find weapons or any other clues in the case. Local resident Val Barkley, 63, said he deserves a medal. You can't break into people's houses, especially when he's a carer for his wife and they were in bed. This is a pensioner who has worked all his life and wants to live and die quietly. Friend Tony Guest wrote online, "So this is British justice, is it? Where is our protection? The old man deserves a medal and to be let free." Now you know why America has guns. Neighbor Nick Myatt said, "He's a lovely old man and he cares for his wife, who I think has dementia or is disabled." "He's a nice man, nice to talk to. He's an old man, it's a shame, really. I hope the law sees sense and lets him off." "I don't think it's right." Moyo, who lives next door to the elderly couple, said he heard the struggle between the pensioner and the burglar. "I heard the shouts of the struggle," he said. "There were a number of voices, some screams, but I couldn't make out the words." "That kitchen is very small. He wouldn't have had the opportunity to run. He is an old man, but it's fight or flight." "It's unfortunate that he was put in that kind of situation." Mr. Osborne Brooks' cousin, Zoe Brooks, welcomed news that he had been freed this morning and noted the widespread support he had received. She told the Evening Standard, "Of course everyone is shocked. He has a lot of support." "His release is great news. But we know as much as you at the moment. The decision to release him means authorities have at least a month to decide whether to charge him as police continue to search for the second burglary suspect." Police today appealed for the public's help in tracking down the second man who broke into the elderly couple's home. Detective Chief Inspector Simon Harding, who is leading the investigation, said this morning, "I would like to speak with anyone who has information regarding the outstanding suspect from the burglary, who is believed to be a white male. He may have told someone what happened at the address." It is possible that he fled the scene in a vehicle, possibly a white van, leaving the scene in the direction of Further Green Road. Did you see this vehicle? Do you know where it went after this? I ask anyone to contact our incident room as soon as possible. Mr. Osborne Brooks was in bed with his wife when two raiders burst in shortly after midnight yesterday. The pensioner was marched into the kitchen of their suburban £500,000 home by one man carrying a screwdriver, while his accomplice went upstairs to ransack the property as his wife Maureen, 76, who is said to have dementia, lay defenseless and terrified. A struggle ensued in the kitchen, and the 38-year-old intruder was stabbed in the chest as Mr. Osborne Brooks grappled with him in an apparent attempt to take the weapon and protect himself and his wife. Bleeding heavily, the robber then tried to flee. But he collapsed in a pool of blood after staggering 250 yards from the front door of the end of terrace property in Hither Green, southeast London. The second burglar, who police say was also armed, fled in a van, leaving his accomplice for dead after trying unsuccessfully to bundle him into the getaway vehicle. After Mr. Osborne Brooks was arrested, neighbor Clem Williams said, "The man has a right to defend his home." They should let him go. My personal opinion is, why were the men at his house? As residents said there had been a spate of burglaries in the area, neighborhood watch member Silborne Sidial said, a man should be able to defend his home. It's not as if to say he had a cutlass, or a machete or a knife. In a notorious previous case, Norfolk farmer Tony Martin was jailed for life for murder after shooting a 16-year-old burglar in the back at his home in 1999. Since then, ministers have toughened up protection for householders. In England and Wales, they can use disproportionate force to challenge an intruder in their home, which could include the use of lethal force. Officers and paramedics attempted to save the burglar, who was stripped of his clothes as they tried to stem the bleeding from a single wound. He was taken to hospital but died at 3:37 a.m. Shocked locals on the quiet road said they had been woken by the moans of the wounded intruder. Gordon Williams, 44, said, "I had just gone to bed and I heard moaning and groaning. At first I thought this man was drunk, but when I looked out of the window I saw a white Vauxhall Astra van pulled up beside him. A black man was saying to the guy on the ground, 'Come on, get in the van.' He was trying to drag him, but it wasn't working." Mr. Williams added, "The black guy then looked up to my window and saw me, so he ran back into the van and drove off." My wife heard the clang of metal on the ground and saw him throw something out of the van's window. The man on the ground was white and was bleeding heavily from his chest. The wound was an inch long. I think it was a knife. Police were unable to confirm whether the suspect had been stabbed with the screwdriver. Mr. Osborne Brooks, who suffered bruising to his arms, was later led away in handcuffs. He was initially arrested on suspicion of grievous bodily harm but arrested on suspicion of murder after the man died. Friends described their shock at his arrest, describing him as a gentle retired rack office manager who was devoted to his wife and was a typical English gentleman. Tony Guest, 69, who worked with him in the 1970s at the offices of the Rack in Croydon, said Mr. Osborne Brooks was an office manager in the membership department but had been more of a friend than a boss's. He was gentle and very intelligent, probably too intelligent for the job he was doing then, he added. He was never rowing or shouting at people. He was a very calm person. A neighbor who had done building work for Mr. Osborne Brooks said, "He's retired, but a nice guy, keeps himself to himself, and goes out shopping once a week, and that's about it." Nice as pie. Others said that Mr. Osborne Brooks had lived on the road for more than 20 years and was a friendly face at street parties, although his frail wife was seldom seen outside the house.